Today, in the media conference with Lal Goel, which is brought to you by V4 News, Carunews, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV India, News Gaon se, Samvad Sarokar News, Bharat Post News, Organ Donation India Foundation and Gyan. Our endeavor is to enlighten you with the current topic. And today's topic is not only current, but very, very relevant. The topic is Quad importance for India. But before I will go on main topic, I would like to inform you that today the country is celebrating National Voters Day. National Voters Day is celebrated on January 25th every year since 2011 all across the country to mark the foundation of Election Commission of India. Election Commission of India was formed on 25th January 1950. The main purpose of the National Voters Day celebration is to encourage, facilitate, and maximize enrollment, especially for the new voters. Dedicated to the voters of the country, the day is utilized to spread awareness among voters and for promoting informed participation in the electoral process. And media conference with Lal Goel hopes that all those states, the 5 states which are going for the election very soon from February, or maximum voters should cast their votes so that the democracy and the Voters Day can be, the purpose of the Voters Day can be solved. Now coming, and another day which the country is celebrating is the National Tourism Day. National Tourism Day is celebrated on the 25th January. This celebration is all about to cultivate and create awareness among the society globally on the significance of tourism and its social, political, financial, and also cultural worth and value. As we know that India is a diverse nation and it offers several forms of tourism, including cultural, nature, heritage, educational, sports, rural, medical, ecotourism, etc. This diversity of India makes it a prime attraction for tourists. Media conference with Lal Goel wishes you on National Voters Day and National Tourism Day. Now coming to our main topic, Quad importance for India. The Quadrilateral Security Dialogue, QSD, also known as the Quad, is a strategic security dialogue between the United States, India, Japan, and Australia that is maintained by talks between member countries. The dialogue was initiated in 2007 by Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe with the support of US Vice President Dick Cheney, Australian Prime Minister John Howard, and Indian Prime Minister Mr. Manmohan Singh. The dialogue was paralleled by a joint military exercise of an unprecedented scale titled Exercise Malabar. The diplomatic and military arrangement was widely viewed as a response to increased Chinese economic and military aggression. The Quad ceased following the withdrawal of Australia during Kevin Rudd's tenure as Prime Minister, reflecting ambivalence in Australian policy over the growing tension between the United States and China in the Asia Pacific. Following Rudd's replacement by Julia Gillard in 2010, enhanced military cooperation between the United States and Australia was resumed, leading to the placement of US Marines near Darwin, Australia, overlooking the Timor Sea and Lombok Strait. Meanwhile, India, Japan, and United States continued to hold joint naval exercises under Malabar. During the 2017 Asian Summits in Manila, all 4 former members led by Abe, Australian Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull, Indian Prime Minister Mr. Narendra Modi, and US President Donald Trump agreed to revive the Quadrilateral Alliance in order to counter China militarily and diplomatically in the Indo-Pacific region, particularly in South China Sea. Tensions between Quad members and China have led to fears of what was dubbed by some commentators as a new Cold War in the region. In a joint statement in March 2021, the spirit of the Quad The Quad members described a shared vision of a free and open Indo-Pacific and a rules-based maritime order in the East and South China Seas, which the Quad members states are needed to counter Chinese maritime claims. The Quad pledged to respond to COVID-19 and held a first Quad Plus meeting that included representatives from New Zealand, South Korea, and Vietnam to work on its response to it. It is believed that the forum strategically counters China's economic and military rise. As a member of the Quad, in the event of rise in the Chinese hostilities on its borders, India can take the support of the other Quad nations to counter it. In addition, India can even take the help of its naval front and conduct strategic exploration in the Indo-Pacific region. In March 2021, US President Joe Biden hosted the first ever summit of the Quad leaders in a virtual format. The summit vowed to strive for an Indo-Pacific region that is free, open, inclusive, and unconstrained by coercion. Naturally, China's aggressiveness and coercive nature in the strategic Indo-Pacific region is said to be a frequent topic of discussion among the Quad nations.
So I think there has been a disconnection in the.
Yeah, something is wrong. Yeah, he's back again.
Sorry for the this network is giving lots of problem from yesterday. I don't know what has happened. Anyway, sorry for this problem. Now, sorry. At President Biden's invitation, the Quad summit attended by our Honorable Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, and his counterparts, Scott Morrison from Australia and Yoshihide Suga from Japan, announced a slew of new initiatives to take on common challenges amidst muscle flexing by an assertive China in the strategic region. Although Quad does not exist simply to counter China or its influence, the aggressiveness, the coercive nature with which China tries to press its claims is certainly a frequent topic of discussion with all the allies and partners of India and inside the Quad. The Quad arrangement gives India an opportunity to work multilaterally on all kinds of initiatives that can help create a free and open Indo-Pacific region. In November 2017, India, Japan, US, and Australia gave shape to the long-pending proposal of setting up the Quad to develop a new strategy to keep the critical sea routes in the resource-rich Indo-Pacific free of any influence amidst China's growing military presence in the strategic region. India, US, and several other world powers in recent times have been talking about the need to ensure a free, open, and Indo-Pacific in the backdrop of China's rising military maneuvering in the resource-rich region. It is important to note here that China claims nearly all of the disputed South China Sea, though Taiwan, the Philippines, Brunei, Malaysia, and Vietnam all claim parts of it. Beijing has also built artificial islands and military installation in the South China Sea. China also has territorial disputes with Japan in the East China Sea. China had initially opposed the formation of Quad, and since then, China's position has not changed. In 2018, the Chinese foreign minister had referred to the Quad as a headline-grabbing idea and accused the group of openly inciting discord among regional powers in Asia. Beijing sees the existence of the Quad as part of a larger strategy to encircle China and has pressured countries like Bangladesh to avoid cooperating with the group. And to discuss this very, very important and relevant topic, Quad importance for India, we have a very elite, knowledgeable, those who are authority, especially in this particular field, that is the Quad and the specific reason. Panelists are with us, and I would like to invite my first panelist guest, and he is Dr. C.V. Anand Bose, IAS. Dr. C.V. Anand Bose, IAS, is one-man expert commission on labor to prepare an action plan for the welfare and development of the workforce in the context of COVID-19. He is also the principal advisor, National Heritage Project. He was former head of disaster management, Government of India, and Central Draft Relief Commissioner, Government of India. He was the Vice Chancellor of National Museum, University of Delhi. To his credit, 300 publications, including 45 books in English, Malayalam, and Hindi novels, short stories, and essays. 4 of his books have become bestsellers. One book of his on housing received prestigious the Sharjah International Book Fair Award. Dr. Bose is an housing expert, innovator, writer, orator, and visionary. The path-breaking institutions set up by him, such as Narmiti Kendra Building Center, District Tourism Council, and Habitat Alliance, have been replicated at the state, national, and global level. He was the head of the prestigious Supreme Court Committee on the Treasures of Sri Padmanabha Swami Temple. Dr. Bose had a divine mission of coordinating the design and construction of the Sanctum Sanctorum of 𝐂𝐀𝐑𝐔 Temple. Dr. Bose addressed United Nations General Assembly and specialized sessions 5 times on various international issues. Dr. Bose is a recipient of 31 national and international awards, including United Nations Global Best Practice Award. He also received prestigious Jawaharlal Nehru Fellowship. Kerala government termed him Lord of Ideas. Former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh ji called him inspired civil servant, and our Honorable Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, called him Man of Ideas. Welcome, Dr. C.V. Anand Bose, on our show. Dr. Bose, recently you visited United States for informal discussion on new areas of cooperation between India and US in the context of Quad. We would like to know your views on the potential of Quad as far as India is concerned, and how important it is for India for military, economic, and other angles. Dr. C.V. Anand Bose, IAS, please.
Thank you, Mr. Goel. The Quad has become the topic of discussion in all diplomatic circles today. Gone are the days of the Cold War, we know. The term power bloc itself has become obsolete. I do not know how to term Quad. Is it a power bloc? Is it an informal group? Is it an alliance? Whatever it is, the Quad is coming to be a force to reckon with in international politics in the coming years. The 2 democratic countries, India and America, are there. Japan is there, Australia is there. The ostensible reason for starting such an initiative is basically to contain the aggressiveness and expansionism of a belligerent China. Yes, when we say we want to keep the Indo-Pacific region free from the atrocities and the aggressiveness of China, there is more to it than meets the eye. You know, China is trying to become the world leader through aggressiveness. The Chinese military has armed itself to the hilt with all its evil designs on the neighbors and in the world as a whole. We know it is autocracy which is parading in the name of the People's Republic of China. If the world keeps quiet, what will happen will be what happened in the Second World War. The appeasement policy of Neville Chamberlain, which refused to prevent Hitler at the right time in the right manner, that led to the Second World War. Such a situation may arise unless China is kept in check. There is no mincing of words here. Yes, as a Chinese minister has expressed his desire or his intention, this is not a talking shop. This is not for headline grabbing. This is an antidote against the head-hunting instincts of a belligerent China. There are military implications to this. There are economic implications. There are political implications. The military implications, of course, our Air Force friend is there. I have heard him earlier also, an excellent communicator who has a vision about the defense of this nation. I leave it to him. But one thing we should know, that this is not just an informal grouping, even though it is called an informal grouping. This is going to be a very vibrant and dynamic entity, which will decide the course of events in the future world with a belligerent China, which has to be kept in check. And what is China doing? See the Indian Ocean. They are trying to have dominance over the Indian Ocean. We have spotted nuclear-propelled submarines of China in the Indian Ocean. And China is all around India. So China has military bases here and there. In Djibouti, they have in the nearby Sri Lanka, they have 150 kilometers from the Cochin Naval Base. And they also have it in Myanmar. And in the name of civil ports, they have created massive military establishments in Pakistan and in other places. And they have created artificial islands in the South China Sea. See, in the Indian Ocean itself, when the Indian sonars detected the presence of the Chinese submarines there, China said that is only deployed to prevent the possible, Seychelles, these piracy. See, nobody has to deploy a military submarine, nuclear-propelled submarine, to contain such a small affair as piracy, which is in the other countries. We know what is their intention. India is fully aware of the threat which China has been giving to us. We are not going to sit idle. India is ready. India is ready. India is ready to reboot and take over its destined role as a world leader, not only militarily, but economically. We have every right to be a superpower, military superpower, economic superpower. We are already a cultural superpower. Cultural superpower is built on soft power. Soft power is as important as hard power. We have realized it. Now the implications. Yes, there are economic implications for this. I think Mrs. Vinita is here. She's an expert in this field, so I don't want to enter into that area. There are economic implications for this, political implications for this. In the post-COVID world, international institutions like the United Nations, they have proved to be a failure. WHO, people are asking, what is WHO? All these institutions will undergo change. There will be reorientation, there will be reconstruction, there will be deconstruction. New organizations will come, new patterns will come in world leadership. If India and America, the two most important democratic countries, come together, supported by strong countries like Japan and Australia, we will decide what is the shape of things to come in the future world. This is not an arrogant assertion. Democracy has to prevail in the world. Suppose this force is not there, then it's a dominance of China. And what China represents, we know. China does not represent democracy. Therefore, in the reshaping of the future world, the brave new world, which is to come in the post-COVID world, these four countries have to come together, not only militarily, economically too. And in the economic front, I see before me a kind of situation which was there when the European Union was formed. These four countries may remain politically different, but there should be strong cooperation in the economic front among these four countries. That will result into a sea change in international politics, in international economy. You asked about my informal visit. I underlined it as informal. In my informal visit to the United States, I had the occasion to discuss a few issues with the most prominent statesmen there. Mr. Michael Shatto, who was the Home Secretary, Home Security, yes, the almost equivalent of our Home Minister, Mr. Michael Shatto, under President Bush. Now he's a prominent statesman there, playing an important role in influencing decisions. Some of the suggestions which came out in the discussion, one-to-one discussion which I had with him. One, as the US, Australia, India, Japan Quad has become more active, Indian security officials should suggest more frequent meetings at the operational level to strengthen mutual bonds and coordination in the face of China's aggressiveness. This is a suggestion which has been given. Frequent interaction with the security chiefs should be there, military chiefs should be there, because we should have a common strategy against the common enemy. So the common enemy is already lurking behind. We should see that we prevent the right things at the right time. We do not want an open conflict with any country, but we cannot sit idle. So there is need for exchange, interaction among the chiefs of all these countries. Another point which came up in our mutual discussion is focused on China. As US government officials and Congress increasingly act to promote alternatives to Chinese internet technologies, there are opportunities for Indian tech firms to partner with US tech on expanded chip manufacturing, secure hardware and software development, and creation of international security standards. India should continue participating in global internet security forums, like the Global Commission on Stability, of which an Indian is the present head, and Mr. Michael is the co-chairman. Now, there are areas, the technological superiority of China. China can afford good technology in a cost-effective manner because the cost of production is less. Whereas America and Europe cannot do this. America, the cost of production is very high, but the technologists, the experts come from India. Therefore, the suggestion which Mr. Shatto has given is, why not we join together? The tech majors of America, but production is done in India, which means India will be able to give affordable technology to the whole world through this arrangement of Quad, so that we can be competitive against China in technology. That's a major implication of this, which can benefit India in a big way. And now, both to protect its own population and to contribute to global climate security. See, this is an area where India is important. Climate security. India should set out a major public initiative to promote carbon emission reduction and carbon capture, as well as new technologies to adopt and mitigate climate effects like rising sea levels and destructive hurricanes and other weather effects. A leadership role in this area would attract significant attention. So we have ignored this aspect. India's great contributions, the policy initiatives which you have taken, have a great bearing on the concept of climate change. When we come to the Quad, India's leadership is going to be in this, something which we did not really realize, that intangible presence of India as a leader in this climate change initiative. Now, once international travel resumes, that is after COVID, promoting student exchange program always increases understanding between countries like the US and India. These are the certain areas, certain action plan, which has been suggested by the elder statesmen of America as far as the Quad implications are concerned. Therefore, sky is the limit. Quad is going to be the center point, the focal point for the future trust of democratic countries against the aggressiveness of a belligerent China. It has military implications, It has political implications. It has economic implications. Now, why are we together? China is criticizing this. A very disturbing trend in India is that the Indian Communist Party, the CPM, openly criticizes the Quad, saying that Quad is enemy countries surrounding friendly China. This is a view openly expressed by the communist leaders of India. For them, China is a preferred destination. Among the enemy countries, they name India. I think a pernicious trend which was there reflected in 1962 during the days of the Chinese aggression. The then Chief Minister, the Marxist ideologue, the respected, revered EMS Namboodiripad, he said, the land which China claims to be theirs and India claims to be ours. Even at that time, they were dubbed as the fifth column. I see within India, there is protest against Quad within India. This is very, very disturbing. Maybe we can interpret it as a strength of Indian democracy and freedom of expression. But there are implications. You see, the Break India Brigade is actively behind their attempt to demolish the sanctity of God. That is why criticism from outside, criticism from within. But these are all things which a mature democracy like India can face, can overcome. As Martin Luther said, we shall overcome. And now, one more last point to make things clear. Why are we fought together? In the forest, there was a lion king. The young lion thought, when my dad comes, everybody respects him. Why are they not respecting me? The young lion thought, before the father wakes up and starts his daily tour in the forest, the young lion prince, he will get up and start his prowl in the forest. He saw a deer and said, arrogantly, asked her, who is the king of the forest? Shivering, the deer said, sir, you are the king of the forest. Okay. Then came a bison, asked him, who is the king of the forest? The bison looked sharp at the lion prince, did not utter a word, kicked on the ground and left the place, showing his discontent. Then comes a rogue elephant, trumpeting, rushing through. The rogue elephant comes. The lion prince stops the rogue elephant and asks him arrogantly, who is the king of the forest? The rogue elephant took the lion in his trunk and threw him away. Dashed against the rock, bleeding, limping. The lion prince comes and asks the rogue elephant, uncle, if you did not know the answer to my question, you would have just said that. China is also going to realize that. We are going to tell them, yes, China is going to ask us, uncle, if you did not know the answer, you could have just said that. Nobody is going to be allowed to be the ruler of the world. Democratic countries have a right to decide the destinies of the future. It is not autocracy. It is not authoritarianism. It is not military might that should set the tone for the future world. Not gold, but only men can make a people great and strong. Quad is there to ensure that only men can make a people great and strong. China need not dream of being the leader of a unipolar country. We are together. We will stand together. Quad is only going to be the first step towards a journey of 1,000 miles. The world is going to be reorganized, and India is going to emerge as a superpower. We will be an economic superpower by 2030 and a military superpower too. Let us not forget that we have the second largest army in the world, if I'm not wrong, fourth largest air force, and our military might, our strength, and the stamina and the competence of our soldiers is world class. India is spending 54 billion military budget. We will increase the military budget if need be. With America with us, the Japan with us, with Australia with us, we will see India will start playing its destined role India is ready. India is ready for anything. India is ready to defend itself, defend the world, and set the tone of life in the brave new world which is going to come. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. C.V. Anand Bose, for giving a very vivid description about the Quad, as well as you have also mentioned what was the purpose of your unofficial visit to US. And Dr. C.V. Anand Bose made it very, very clear that this Quad, was formed because they do not want, no one wants in the world, basically, that any country will rule the world, and especially a country like China. And that's when this was formed, and it was decided to keep the military maneuver of China in check. But Chinese people started laughing on this, but the sad part is that in India also, one of the political party, which he has named as CPIMM, has protested against this Quad, which is very unfortunate. After all, Quad is for the interest not only for one country, but for the entire humanity or the entire world. Because we know very well how the China is going to start bullying the small countries and then going to be after the big countries. And already the things have come, how they are pressurizing the small countries. And Dr. Bose has mentioned very clearly how they are putting their nuclear submarines just in the guise of that it is for the pirates. We are putting, and we know, everybody knows that the nuclear weapons are not required because they want to conquer the world. And that's why these four big democratic countries, USA, India, Japan, and Australia, came together and make a strategic defense. And that's why the Quad is very much required today. It's very, very important, especially for India, because India is having, according to Dr. Bose, a very big military power, second best in the world, biggest rather. And he says we are spending 54 billion on the military budget, which if required, it can increase. So when India is having that important position, but India decided and all other countries have decided to do it jointly. And that is a very, very wise decision. We have seen in the World War II or World War I and World War II also, how the combination of the countries can win the war. Thank you very much, Dr. C.V. Anand Bose, for giving your views very clear. And so now I would like to invite my next panelist guest, and she is Miss Vinita Hariharan. Miss Vinita Hariharan is the national level public policy expert. She is public policy advisor, Government of India. She is also the Chief of Programs, Ministry of MSME, Government of India. Ms. Vinita has had an illustrious academic journey and an exemplary professional and public life. An alumnus of the prestigious School of Planning and Architecture, New Delhi, she worked for a decade in leading private and public sectors of the country. At this juncture, driven by the aim of donning the hat of a decision maker from an implementer, she pursued her mid-career master's in public administration from the Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy, National University of Singapore, on a scholarship from the Singapore government. This proved to be a game changer as she gained wide international perspective in policy making. Post this, she has been with various multilateral and bilateral agencies with the Government of India, where she designed national policies and led the implementation of several flagship programs of Government of India in the domains of rural, urban, and livelihoods. Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, Shyama Prasad Mukherjee Urban Mission, formalization of micro enterprises being some of the key flagship programs designed by her. She is currently with the Ministry of MSME as Chief of Programs handling externally aided missions. Ms. Vinita is a public speaker and a thought leader in diverse issues of nation building. She is on the board of studies of leading global institutes and a mentor to social foundations that work towards empowering women and girl child. Ms. Vinita was recently given the Women of Excellence Award from the Indian Achievers Forum for her outstanding contributions to the field despite all hurdles. Welcome, Ms. Vinita Hariharan on our show. Ms. Vinita Hariharan, you have heard what Dr. C.V. Anand Bose IAS has mentioned, and very clearly he advocated for this formation of Quad and to continuance of the Quad. And he has explained the importance of Quad, not only for military, not only for economically, but for the development of all the countries and to check the Chinese idea to conquer the world. Now, you being a policy advisor to the government of India, and you have worked very closely with many, many countries because of your designation in the government of India. And you have studied, you have done your master's in Singapore. So you very closely knows about the China, about their endeavor to increase their power economically also, which we are seeing how they are doing in many, many fields. So we would like to know your views. Quad importance for India. Ms. Vinita Hariharan, please.
Thank you, Lal Goel ji. It's indeed a pleasure always to be on your show and to share the panel with such esteemed experts and luminaries in the field. So as Anand Bose has just set the trend for the whole discussion with his very powerful invocation, so to speak, about what is Quad and the importance of these nations in actually, kind of demolishing any kind of regional hegemony that any particular country would want to have in this particular region. And as we all know, our Quad, as you've already elaborated in your first session, that in your opening remarks, Australia, India, Japan, and the United States. So this is an Indo-Pacific coalition and not really an Asia-Pacific. So which actually underlines the theme of maritime, the theme of maritime coalition, which becomes so important in today's day and time. And we are largely not, talking about maritime issues and maritime challenges, while we are focusing more on the land-based challenges. So that's one importance of Quad, which is the strategic coalition of these four maritime democracies. So it's also an emphasis on a unity between democracies on the Indo-Pacific corridor. So that's actually, it has a lot of geo-political as well as geo-economic importance, as Shri Anand Bose just mentioned. So it is important to understand the entire how the inception of Quad, as we all are aware, it began with in 2004, in the context of the tsunami, and it began as a disaster relief attempt by countries to come together with a philanthropic and a disaster relief intent. But it was lying dormant for almost 9 years, and it got resurrected in 2017. And then again in 2021, we had Joe Biden holding the first virtual summit. And over there, he read out he declared the joint statement, The Spirit of Quad, on March 12th, 2021. And it's important to actually go through some of the declarations, which would give the viewers a clear idea of what is Quad and what the importance of Quad is, and how and the intent of Quad, which is not really to dominate any particular country in sovereign debt, or to actually economically dominate any particular region by any particular country, because it's between diverse countries across the Indo-Pacific region. So one of the declarations that actually emphasize on the economic aspects of it is important to read out. Perhaps I will just read out the fourth point of the statement, in which Joe Biden said that Quad builds on the progress of countries that have achieved on health security, and we will join forces to expand safe, affordable, and effective vaccine production and equitable access to speed economic recovery and benefit global health. With steadfast commitment to the health and safety of our own people, we also recognize that none of us can be safe as long as the pandemic continues to spread. So we will collaborate to strengthen equitable vaccine access for the Indo-Pacific and close coordination with multilateral organizations, including WHO and COVAX, without undermining the importance of existing multilateral organizations. Quad attempts to actually supplement the efforts of the multilaterals. That he also spoke of calling for transparent and result-oriented reforms also at the WHO. Notwithstanding, he's also talked about reforms at WHO. And he says that we are united in recognizing that climate change is a global priority, and we work to strengthen the climate actions of all nations, including to keep a Paris-aligned temperature within reach. So there is also a lot of emphasis on reaching the goals of climate change that is set in COP26 and various other international treaties. So he also spoke about a successful COP26 in Glasgow. And he said we would begin cooperation on critical technologies of the future to ensure that innovation is consistent with the free, open, inclusive, and resilient Indo-Pacific. And he also spoke of the priority that the role of international laws would have in maritime domain, as laid out in United Conventions on the Law of the Sea. So that's what it is about. It's about the law of the sea, and in which there would be facilitation of collaboration, including maritime security, and so on and so forth. He talks about the defense aspects, which I will leave to defense experts to speak about. So this was the emphasis on the economic aspects, the geo-economic aspects of Quad. And so the geo-economic implications, one is, of course, the action points are, one is they're going to be building resilient supply chains beyond what China is already doing with its Belt and Road Initiative, etc. They'll be talking about building supply chains across the maritime corridors, and also about to diversify supply chains beyond manipulation by any particular state. So, and this will be focusing on vaccine production and clean energy, and also there is this emphasis on supply chain security for semiconductors and vital components. And there is also not just about economic corridors, but also about building capacities and expertise, and also plowing in finance to expand regional infrastructure. So it is to be noted that Quad has already provided about $48 billion to more than 30 regional states in official finance for infrastructure related to public health, rural development, water supply and sanitation, renewable power generation, telecommunication, and road transportation. And the Quad Infrastructure Coordination Group has also been set up, which would be helping to deliver high standard infrastructure by coordinating technical assistance and capacity building efforts with the regional states. And they also be focusing on vaccination. The Quad Vaccines Partnership was also launched in 2021, which was also going to be fostering equitable access to COVID-19 vaccines in the Indo-Pacific. And also they have already, they are donating 1.2 billion COVID-19 vaccines. They've already donated. And in addition to what has already been financed through COVAX. And they also would be giving support to the India's dominant efforts of India towards vaccine production, which comprises more than 60% of the world's vaccines, which India has contributed. So Quad would be complementing and supplementing those efforts. And also Japan has already invested about $100 million in India's healthcare sector to help boost the production of COVID-19 vaccines. And about the technological ecosystem, they would be focusing on the 5G diversification and also boosting critical infrastructure for resilience against cyber threats. And also about strengthening the sustainable use of oceans and marine resources and protect the earth. And also there has been a critical and emerging technologies working group that has been established within the Quad. And about climate change and climate change goals and clean energy innovation, Quad is going to be looking at establishing a low emission or zero emission shipping corridor between the Quad member countries. And they've invited Yokohama, Los Angeles, Sydney, and Mumbai to form a green shipping network. And also they will also be aiming at clean hydrogen partnership to strengthen and reduce costs across all elements of the clean hydrogen value chain, and also boosting trade in clean hydrogen across the Indo-Pacific. So therefore, and also about, they also be going to be focusing on dissemination of critical climate information aspects, and so to reduce the information asymmetry that that is there in the world today regarding climate change, and also about they're also going to be focusing on the disaster resilient infrastructure, which is what the concept and the inception of Quad was for. So I think it's a very good strategic coalition that has been built without any motive of trapping countries in debt or in sovereign debt. This is going to be pumping in money and grants for boosting of health infrastructure, boosting of economic corridors, and also about working in coalition between countries and not to actually monopolize any particular region. And no particular country is going to be monopolizing any particular region through the Quad. And the Quad, as we've seen, it's also going to be generating so much of economic activities through the amount of funding that's going to happen and investments that we're going to see between countries. Between the powerful Quad partners, so to speak. So yeah, I think that's about the geo-economic implications of Quad. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Vinita Hariharan, for giving your views about the Quad. And she has very clearly explained the reason of the Quad and what the activities they have already done and what are their projections. And she mentioned how President Joe Biden has chartered what they have achieved and declared in the declaration he has read out. And she has also mentioned how economically these four countries are cooperating with each other to counter the China, as well as for the clean environment, which is very, very important, how these four countries are coordinated with each other. So according to her, this Quad is such a thing which is going to have very good implications, because definitely it's for the cooperation. It has nothing to do with that it is just for dominating any country, but rather to strengthen all the countries and how they are progressing in those fields which are required, whether it's economical field, whether it's even in the medical field also, how these four countries are cooperating, how the Japan is funding the Indian medical field so that more and more research can take place. So all these things are required today for the benefit of all these countries, and in turn to the universe, or the globally we can say that all the countries will be benefited with this Quad. Thank you very much, Ms. Vinita Hariharan, for giving your views. Now I would like to invite my last but not the least panelist guest with us. He is Wing Commander 𝐂𝐀𝐑𝐔, retired Indian Air Force. Wing Commander was commissioned on 10th December 1997 into the Aeronautical Engineering Mechanical stream of the IAF. He has 20 years experience working at various levels and portfolios in the engineering field, ranging wide from the surface to air missiles to maintaining aircraft like the 𝐂𝐀𝐑𝐔 and advanced light helicopters, 𝐂𝐀𝐑𝐔. He has on-ground working experience in the engineering arena at multiple IAF aviation bases and a base repair depot. He functioned as the senior engineering officer at multiple units, including an aviation unit. He was working at Air Headquarters, the central decision-making body of the IAF, as a joint director, and was involved in framing and incorporating policies and decisions for maintaining of aircraft, especially the ALH variant, ALH Dhruv, Mk1, Mk2, and the weaponized ALH Mk4 Rudra, manufactured by HAL. He was also involved in the phase-wise discussions of the latest epic that IAF has recently acquired and light combat helicopters being designed and developed by HAL. Welcome, Wing Commander 𝐂𝐀𝐑𝐔 on our show. Wing Commander, you have heard Dr. 𝐶V Bose, IAS, as well as Ms. Vinita Hariharan, and both have given in a very clear ways their views about the Quad. Dr. 𝐶V Bose has mentioned very clearly how it is going to impact the relationship in the world among the countries, because the China's idea to conquer the world through his military or economical advancement can be checked if we have that much force, and that is why the four big countries have joined hands. Ms. Vinita Hariharan has also mentioned that not only they are checking the China, but they are in process are developing these four countries economically as well as for the climate and other medically, etc. So the advantages of Quad we have seen, although we have also seen how one of the party in your state, Kerala, is protesting against the Quad, which is very unfortunate, because after all, this is the Quad is not for one political party or two. After all, the Quad was started by Congress, not by BJP, if they have any reservation, although they have done it that time also, now again they are doing. So we would like you to give your views, because as Dr. CVRN Bose left for the military thing to you, and very clearly what are the implications and what are the advantage of this Quad. So we would like to know from you the Quad importance for India. Wing Commander U. Satyan, please.
Thank you, Goelji. First of all, thanks a lot for inviting me on this show. It is an honor to be with such an august panel of speakers. Now, what I've heard from Dr. Bose and Ms. Vinita is that we are talking about the symptoms and the medicine which is being given as of now for the problem of the aggressiveness of China. But I would like to really go back into the history and try to bring to fore the actual disease. Because unless and until we understand the disease, we will not be able to carry forward on Quad also. Because Quad also needs to have a focus to counter the aggressiveness of China. Now, Chinese communism was started by, one of the greatest communist countries of that time. I'll not say greatest, because greatest is with inverted commas. Russia had supported China's communism to rise, thinking that it will be an able-bodied sidekick whenever Russia needed. But unfortunately, as China grew, it came to know that it doesn't any longer have to listen to Russia. And Russia started feeling the heat once this particular country, that is China, started inflicting wounds on Russia itself by 1,000 cuts. Now, communism in Russia is long gone, but in China, it is only getting stronger and stronger. With communism, like what you have seen in India also, it is following a path of somewhat like, the Islamic terrorism, because terrorism doesn't have borders. The problem of communism, that is the forceful communism, is also such. China has been aggressively asserting us. We have to understand one thing: China doesn't have a democracy. So whatever the communist government says, it obeys. So the China's focus will never ever change. This the Indian communists have to realize, because they can only be the able-bodied slaves, but they can never be equals in the eyes of communist China. Having said that, where did this problem start of the Chinese aggressiveness? In somewhere in 1940s, probably in 1947, the Chinese drew a map of their so-called version of their country. In that, they had incorporated something called as a 9-dash line. This 9-dash line encompasses whatever there is in the South China Sea. This, they didn't consult any other country, any other nation. They just went ahead and established a map by themselves. And from that time on, they have been working to make South China Sea as theirs. This is what the problem is, what the Quad is facing today, and that is why the Quad has formed up. The countries in the South China Sea region, like Cambodia, Thailand, Vietnam, Brunei, Malaysia, Singapore, they're very small and not strong enough to face China themselves. As I said, China's focus doesn't change. If it loses a battle, it prepares for another battle, keeping its focus where it was when it first lost the battle. China has been asserting itself, and in the past, one of the instances wherein Philippines had enough of it, they went to International Court of Justice, got a ruling that whatever China is doing, undertaking in South China Sea is illegitimate. their 9-dash line doesn't have any value. What does China do? It comes back, protests, but then it realizes it cannot go in the same road if it wants to assert itself in the South China region. So what it does is it tries to befriend these countries in that region, very well knowing after some time that it can bulldoze its way through with the countries, and soon the South China Sea can be theirs. This is where India has to look out. India has got a lot of trade going through that region. India's navy, has got presence in the Indian Ocean, and to some extent in the South China Sea as well. Now, to protect, that is to enforce a fair trade or a fair journey of trade from one place to the other, you require a strong navy. In fact, a strong armed force by itself, because you have to counter your aggressive neighbor both in land and sea, not to forget the air. So where does India go, and where does militarily India stand? Because if you see the expenditure of Indian military vis-a-vis the Chinese military, it is skewed. Indian military is expenditure is roughly about, as Dr. Bose had brought out, to the tune of some $60 billion. But if you see, I'll correct myself, it's about $72 billion. The Chinese military expenditure is roughly about $260 billion. Now that is the equation where we lie. We should pick up a leaf from the Chinese book that the focus should never ever change. Fortunately, for the last about 7 years or 8 years, we have been having a very stable government with a will to act. Before that, probably in spurts, we had some will here and there, but it was never a permanent wish to assert ourselves as a nation. This is where we have to be focusing it. Nation, as Atal Bihari Vajpayee had once said, that parties may come, parties may go, but nations should stand. I think all the political parties should come together on this, including the Communist Party of India, both Marxist as well as the Communist Party of India. They should realize that unless and until we have a nation, we will not have anything to project. We will not have a dignity. We will not have a presence. Forget about just being existence as well. The great Abdul Kalam had once said, only power respects power. Before being humble, you should be powerful. That is where India should be focusing it. China, because it doesn't have to worry about governments coming and government going, will keep on doing what it is already doing. We should be learning from that. 1962 was a good lesson. We should never ever forget. We should never give a chance for it getting repeated. In fact, whenever we come head on, like what had happened in the Galwan Valley and other places in the current situation, we should always be ready to give China a bloody nose this time and every time. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Satyan, Wing Commander Satyan, for giving your views. And according to Wing Commander Satyan, he has given the history of why the Quad is required in the country, and why this for the countries, 4 countries, what was the reason, and how the communism was developed in China by the patronage of Russia. And he also mentioned that China started behaving, although he has not mentioned, but like a Bhasmasur, and they tried to finish even the Russia also at that time. So according to Wing Commander, it's very, very much required today in the present scenario to check Chinese aggression, because they cannot be changed, and because there is a permanent communism and the permanent government as of now today. So they need not to take any public opinion. While in India, we are a democratic country, and we have to we have to go for the elections every 5 years. So we have to keep everything in a public domain, and we have to see to it that it should be for the beneficial, not only for the country, but for the region, or the entire region. And that's why the Quad is required. And according to Wing Commander, the way that China is doing, and with the way their military budget is so high in comparison to India, almost 3 to 4 times of the budget of India, it clearly shows that their ideas are to conquer. And that's why India and other countries have joined hands in the Quad, and it's very, very useful and beneficial to counter the China. Otherwise, it will be a very, very difficult thing. Thank you very much, Wing Commander Satyan, for giving your views. Now my question goes to Ms. Vinita Hariharan. Ms. Vinita Hariharan, do you think Quad will emerge as an informal power bloc?
Yeah, so you mean BLOC or BLOCK? So if it's BLOC, of course, it will emerge as a very strong coalition. So as I've already mentioned in earlier, and other speakers have also mentioned, that this is going to be about having equitable spread of power across a certain region, Indo-Pacific region, and not really allowing any one particular country to dominate a particular region. So therefore, definitely the way it's going, and the way Joe Biden has taken leadership, and also India has been actively engaging in regular meetings and interactions, and it's not just a symbolic coalition. It is for real, and with a lot of infrastructure spending and a lot of economic infusion also happening between these countries. So definitely it will emerge as a very strong strategic coalition, I would say, not an informal coalition.
Okay, thank you very much. Now my question goes to Wing Commander Satyan. You have mentioned about, and we have heard everyone says about that China, but what were the threats put forward by China, real and imaginary, which forced these 4 countries to stand together? See, they have their own military budget, they are doing their exercises, but was there any real threat, or even the imaginary threat, for these countries to stand together? It's not only India, it's a threat to Japan and Australia and even to the United States. So what, according to you, what were those threats, and why that's why this Quad was formed?
The issue is that what China has been following in the South China Sea, that is the whole region of contention. The countries which are existing, rest of the countries which are existing in South China Sea, they have always been saying that that is a free trade route. Nobody can claim ownership on that route. China's business through that route has only been growing. Now, wherever China sees its business growing, it would like to dominate that region, and if possible, make that region their own. This has been China's policy from time immemorial, and that will be what they'll be following in the future. So whatever China's threat is real, present, and it will exist in the future as well if checks are not put in place. China always tests the waters first. It will first go one step and then see if there is any reaction. If there is a reaction, it will not go back from that step, it will stay where it is. It will wait for that particular country or that particular strength to relax at that particular point. Once it relaxes, it moves another step. This is what China's policy of capturing new territories. It is winning a war by 1,000 cuts. You will not find Chinese action outright. That is, it will not go to a war seeing that it might have a chance to lose. It will first start sending in bits by bits. That is what it has started doing in South China Sea also. In 1970s, it had a fight with Vietnam, making the Paracel Islands taking the Paracel Islands for itself. And then in an island called Spratly, it has already started reclaiming the land from the sea and building up military infrastructure. Both these block of islands are in the South China Sea itself. Now, for India, why is this important? Because India's trade also follows through the South China Sea. For protecting that trade, the military is required in that region. Now, the question what you had said, that whether China's threat is imaginary or real, from 1962 till that build-up, we should have already known that there is nothing called as an imaginary Chinese threat. The Chinese threat is always real, starting from the beginning of the Chinese communism, which was established in that country. Had it been a democracy, we would have had a way ahead in terms of talks, because in democracy, the views will change. When the governments come, government go, and when the ministers, when the people in power, they keep changing. People come, people go. But with the Communist Party in China or the Communist China, their views, the focus will never change. The map which they have been holding on is from 1947. They are not going to change that. They have never changed with India's insistence as well, which is why India thought that probably bringing forces together will be a better option rather than countering it alone, because it is too vast an area where China is trying to go in. It is in neutral waters where India, strategically doesn't have a, there is not a place which we can call our own in that particular region. That is why it was important for us to have a Quad at that particular time, and even today. Quad had lost some amount of steam in between because of Australia pulling back. Because with Australia pulling back after 2007, the remaining three countries didn't have that much of focus to carry on. But with Australia rejoining and the Quad being re-energized, I think we have a pretty good way forward of countering China. The Chinese mouthpiece will always be saying that Quad is just a hot air balloon, but we all know with these strong nations coming together, China has, should do better than to be aggressive.
Okay, thank you, Wing Commander. My question goes to Ms. Vinita Hariharan. Ms. Vinita, China's Belt and Road Initiative, we know that how they have done the that particular work. Do you think this Quad is going to do something if with that, because after all the cooperation to economics, because the economic area, economic equations of those countries which have agreed to this bolt of China is required to be countered economically. So do you think Quad will also play a role in that?
Quad will not be directly playing a role in the Belt and Road Initiative, but definitely the attempts of Quad to establish, because it's going to be along the maritime corridor and not really on the land-based corridors. But definitely one of the impacts of Quad would also be to break the kind of spread of Chinese aggression across continents. And Quad is also speaking about having an Asia-Africa network. Asia-Africa collaboration in which there'll be a lot of exchange of investments and exchange of expertise, and also infrastructure investment happening across these two continents. So therefore, the Quad implications of Quad would be alternative economic corridors beyond the Belt and Road Initiative, and not allowing China particularly to have any regional hegemony. So that would be the implications of Quad, but not directly countering the Belt and Road Initiative.
Okay, thank you. Now my question goes to Wing Commander Satyan. Wing Commander, you mentioned that, or rather it is on, I also read that in my opening remark, that how the Quad was discontinued for some time because Australia has moved out. And then again they moved in. Don't you think that if such type of shaky alliance is there, anytime in future also, one of the country can move out, and then again we will come on the square one position. So my question is, why this alliance is not made very permanent in nature, so that even any of the country would like to change because of the change in the government there in Australia or any other country, it should not affect the Quad. What you say about this, Wing Commander?
Goel, it's a very valid question in the current scenario, as well as earlier also, that once Australia had moved out, now since it has rejoined, the Quad has got re-energized. In future also, there might be instances where there will be chances of countries opting to move out of a particular trade agreement or a particular joint operation group. That will always be a danger, but at the same time, I think Australia has already realized the threat that China is posing in its waters and as well as its trade routes. So in my opinion, that the Quad has reached a stage wherein it has gained a permanency in terms of countering the Chinese threat, at least in the maritime region, as Ms. Vinita had pointed out. This particular group should only be focusing more towards the collaboration between all the four nations to increase cooperation on all fronts. Like in the recent joint statement by the White House, it has said that it is doing a lot. The Quad is doing a lot for the COVID-19, countering the COVID-19 disease as well, including the vaccination, as Ms. Vinita had pointed out. Having said that, what needs to be done for the Quad to stay permanent? One is frequent meetings, because any plant of growth needs to be continuously watered, and the nutrients being provided in terms of energized approach. So I think that is what is required, that the Quad should go ahead and set a program for the year, every year for the next 5 years. It might be a 5-year plan or so that the Quad doesn't lose its focus. Their representatives keep meeting probably a quarter or once in 6 months to keep discussing and ways ahead to counter the threat to the maritime trade routes. That's what I think.
Okay, thank you very much. Now my question goes to Ms. Vinita. Ms. Vinita, you mentioned about the economic things about this Quad. Now my question specific is about the manufacturing and export. What advantages are going to be with the country like India about in the front of manufacturing, export, and other fronts, especially for when we are talking of economical, because we are dealing with superpower like United States, we are also dealing with Australia and Japan. Whether this Quad will be beneficially for our economic development, especially for the manufacturing and export, or not?
Definitely, it will have a positive implication in export and manufacturing, especially that we've already seen investments pouring in from Japan in healthcare. About $100 million has already been pumped into India in healthcare infrastructure. And so basically now the focus has been on health infrastructure. So we will see a lot more activities in the manufacturing of health equipments and health related infrastructure. So that's going to be one implication. And of course, it would have a positive impact on exports, because such strategic coalitions will definitely see a lot of exchange of, they've also spoken about enhancing capacity and technical assistance across countries. So we'll see a lot of knowledge sharing, which would also include, best practices in manufacturing, and for Indian manufacturing companies to actually learn from best practices in advanced nations such as Japan, which has crossed the threshold in terms of manufacturing excellence. So I think this would definitely, with Quad being such an active platform today and not just a symbolic coalition, I think this will see a lot more impetus on exports, which is the need of the day, because there has been a lot of criticism and against countries looking inward. And also India has also been criticized for being inward looking during the pandemic. So the establishment and active engagement of India in Quad would actually dispel those myths that we are inward looking. We're actually looking at having very strategic coalitions across, which is a win-win situation for countries. So today, India's position in international alliances has been very, very categorically, we have, and very proudly so, our Prime Minister has reiterated in every forum, be it the Paris Accord or be it any other international accord, that it would be a win-win partnership, and no more are we going to be subservient to any particular so-called developed economy.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Vinita. My question goes to Wing Commander Satyan. Wing Commander Satyan, China sees Quad as a military alliance against it. How far do you think Quad can give military strength to the participating countries? Because right now, China is conceding that, and they're openly stating that this is nothing but just want to pressurize China by showing the stand. But really is going to give military strength to all these participating countries, or it is just what China says is just a talking issue, nothing else?
Valid question, Goelji. See, the China as a country has already seen enough, struggles in its heyday. So what it sees is what it has experienced. What it experienced, it is what it sees. So same way with Quad also, it has made a posturing saying that Quad is actually a military partnership, and probably in days to come, it will do more on that. So it's probably somewhere the fear of Quad is what China is talking about openly. But at the same time, notwithstanding that, where the Quad needs to focus, as of now, we have been always been saying that it is for the maritime freedom of trades, and then for the tsunami, then followed by the COVID-19. But yes, military partnership is definitely on the table, because we have been conducting exercises, with the four nations military exercises, both in the Indian Ocean as well as at other places. So yes, military cooperation is definitely on the table, but how far it will be used, the time will tell.
Okay, thank you very much, Wing Commander. Now my question goes to Ms. Vinita. Ms. Vinita, why only 4 countries? Why not all those countries where those who also matters, like in many European countries, even UK, why they are not joining in the Quad? Why we are only limiting the 4 countries? After all, the China's aim is not only to capture India or Japan or Australia or USA. Once they are going to capture, they are planning for the entire world. So my point is, why not increase the Quad? People are not, members are not increasing the number of more nations, although they have recently in the Quad Plus, they have taken 3 more countries, but why not all other countries also? Ms. Vinita Hariharan.
So, like it said, it's a very strategic coalition, understanding the mutual interests of all the countries, and it's worked out based on certain strategic interests of each of these countries, which, as I said earlier, establishes win-win partnerships. So there's always a certain quorum and a certain optimum size to such newly formed coalitions. So therefore, it's called Quad. It's a quadrilateral between 4 countries. So therefore, it's very important to actually choose these countries very wisely, which would actually lead to a kind of a counter threat to any kind of aggression that China is actually displaying across the spectrum. So therefore, the choice of countries has been very wise, and we must also take cognizance of various other coalitions that exist, various other partnerships like the G20, the G7, and all of them. So therefore, we don't want to recreate any other groups which already exist. So therefore, this is a strategic coalition with specific focus on the Indo-Pacific corridor.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Vinita. Now my question goes to Wing Commander Satyan. Wing Commander, we have heard this name of Malabar exercise. Can you just explain why why the name was given as Malabar exercise, and if it is given, so is it because the exercise has taken place in the Indian region, that's why, or what you want to say about this?
It's a little gray area for me. But yes, the Malabar exercise was conducted in the Indian Ocean region. But that is all the information that I have. Unfortunately, I will have to.
Yes, I understand. Because it was, I think, in the southwest coast of India, in the generic name given to the Indo-US naval interaction. That's why this Malabar. So it means all these other countries have understood the importance of India, and that's why they have even given this exercise as a Malabar exercises. Very good. Thank you very much, Wing Commander Satya. Now my last to your views, Ms. Vinita Hariharan, what advice, if you have to give to the government of the day or the present government, and what advice you want to give to those parties who are opposing Quad? After all, it's such a strategic thing. As you mentioned that 4 countries are not only doing for military, but all other field. And it is, if it will continue, it will definitely increase the presence of all the countries, and definitely the India can contribute far more in this particular field, in the Quad, and can be a global leader, as Dr. Bose has mentioned about how this Indian technocrats are going to replace the Chinese technocrats, which is very much required today. So do you think that the way we are moving right now is a correct way? Number one. Number two, Indian technocrats or those engineers or companies can replace the Chinese companies or Chinese technocrats in near future with this mission of Quad. Miss Vinita, please.
Yes, definitely the advice, your first question about the advice to Indian government, I think, I mean, I am nobody to be an advisor. We have luminaries in the field, and we have the External Affairs Minister, such a capable person in international affairs. But definitely, but when the Ministry of External Affairs is going so aggressive and establishing such strategic, I mean, engaging in such strategic coalitions in a very positive manner and establishing such good diplomatic relations, I think it's important for other departments also to keep pace. Like, for example, the other departments that take care of infrastructure development, that looks at the Ministry of Commerce, the other and the apart from the central government, the state governments, where they have to keep pace with the kind of international prominence that India is gaining in terms of improving the ease of doing business. So we have the Ministry of Labour, the Ministry of MSME, all of them trying to do their bit. But I think all of this has to come into one big canvas, and all the jigsaw puzzle, the parts have to fit in well into a seamless effort by the government of India to come across as a very robust as well as investment-friendly country. So where the central government is doing its best to improve investments, to bring in international expertise, and to establish such good strategic relations with neighboring countries, we need to see that our state governments and the entire country is in partnership, and we improve the investment climate in the country. And we actually keep pace with the Ministry of Labour's attempts to kind of unify the labor codes and to make things easy for establishment of businesses. I think that's where we need to work on the last mile, the last mile ease of doing business, which is something that we really need. We have a long way to go in terms of actually, because many investors get kind of deterred by the kind of laws and rules that India has in the several states. So I think that's something that we need to work on.
Okay,
and about the technocrats, yeah, definitely. India has already, we have seen a lot of emergence of technocrats beyond just BPOs and beyond just answering calls through call centers. We have seen so many of our engineering, technocrats of excel, be it, Satya Nadella and all of them, the Google head, and all of them making marks in the cyberspace and in the software industry beyond just class 4 or beyond just skilled worker level. So we've gone to the managerial level, the strategic level, and across spectrum we've established our expertise, and even the US Vice President is of Indian origin. So I think that is a no-brainer that we are making marks across the globe. So I think China, definitely we are way ahead than China, especially in terms of our language prowess in English. I think that's something that we don't need to undermine, while we have a lot of emphasis on the Hindi language, which is very good. We have one language that unites the country, but at the same time, we should not lose our grip on the English language, because that's the international language that binds so many countries and gives India the edge over many countries such as China.
Thank you very much, Ms. Vinita Ariyaran. Now, my last to Wing Commander Satyan. What advice you would like to give to the political party especially from your state, so that the Quad mission should not be hampered, and no other country should see that we have a divided house?
The one and only advice is stand together as a nation. Our differences may be political, our differences may be many, our internal struggles may be different. We might be vying for the same post, we may be vying for the same position, but when we take up an issue as a nation, we need to stand as a nation. Otherwise, we'll spend our time fighting the internal foes when we should have been concentrating on countering the external enemies.
Okay, thank you very much, Wing Commander Satyan. So viewers, we have seen today how this Quad is such an important and strategic alliance, which the four very big democratic countries have come together: Australia, Japan, India, and United States. And this is not only to counter the military aggression of the China, but also for the development of the economical things, because China is going to kill economically and as well as with the help of military all other countries, and their aim is to conquer the world, which in the present scenario is not, it should not be possible, and that's why this Quad importance is required. Unfortunately, few people they think that if we talk about against China, then we should not talk, and because after all we have to respect, but respect to an enemy and the country which wants to harm our country is not at all advisable. And our viewers have given what are the benefits and how these four countries are now doing very aggressively. As we have seen in last year, only 2 meetings have took place, one virtual as well as one in person in US, and initiated by United States, where our Honorable Prime Minister has also participated. So we hope, and I'm sure with this types of active participation by the country, we not only get advantage for the benefit of our borders to be secured in case of any emergency, but also our development economically in manufacturing and other fields, even for the environment, is sure. We quite encouraging, and we are going to get advantage and from the Quad. So it's very, very important for country of ours, India. Thank you very much. And today's program has been live telecasted by V4 News, V4 Stream, Carunews, Malnadu TV India, News Gaon se Samvad Sarokar News, Bharat Post News, as well as first shown live on Facebook and YouTube. And I endeavor to bring to you every day new topic in media conference with Lal Goel at 10:30 a.m. And tomorrow, as you all know, that is a very, very important day for our country. Tomorrow we are celebrating 73rd Republic Day, and for that tomorrow we are coming out with a program called Republic Day Talent Show, where we will have 13 young talents right from the LKG to the MBA students who are going to show their talent in that live program. And we will be having 2 chief guests, one Professor Dr. Sudhir San, former visiting professor, IIM Lucknow and University of Texas, Dallas, USA, and his senior director, Don Bosco Group of Bangalore, and Dr. Santosh Kumar Patnaik, former managing director, Indian Railways Finance Corporation, New Delhi. So please tune in tomorrow for media conference with Lal Goel at 10:30 a.m. and celebrate 73rd Republic Day with us. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ms. Vinita Hariharan. Thank you very much, Wing Commander Satyan Unnikrishnan. And thank you very much, Dr. C.V. Anand Bose, IAS, for giving your very, very enlightening views. And I'm sure the public at large, our viewers who have watched to this program are quite benefited, and especially the youth who has to know about why the government or why our country is doing this, participating actively in the Quad, and what is the importance of the Quad for India. Thank you very much. Thank you all the viewers for watching our show. Thank you very much.